Alright, so been looking around a bit, haven't quite figured out what to do yet, but I did notice that there is a door here to the outside, which I haven't gone to yet. So let's see what this does. Besides being very, very rainy and looking at two towers.
It's a tower. A tower.
Okay, that's not really helping me.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
Okay, well, what? Is there anything else around here? What is that? Something right there? Oh, a telescope.
Telescope mounted on the railing.
Can I take it?
see trees. The telescope's pointing toward the forest, and I can't turn it. It seems to have rusted.
Okay, can we somehow get this thing undone here? Can I use the axe on it? No. Can we use the hand drill? Oh, actually, yes, we can.
The telescope's attached with a metal clamp. Maybe I can loosen it with the drill.
Cool. Now we have a telescope. All right. So is that the piece that we're missing? Let's go back to the workshop here. There was that one hook, right? That I don't know what to do with.
There's a hook here. A threaded hook that's been screwed into the wall. It won't pull out.
Well, what would I use? The hand drill on it? No. The axe?
I might be able to bend it or break it, but I can't pull it out of the beam in one piece.
Gloves? For leverage? No. The nutcracker we haven't used yet? Oh, actually.
Of course. I can just use the nutcracker to unscrew the hook. Why didn't I think of that before?
Because that doesn't make any
I'll
sense.
jam the hook into his mouth and then unscrew it like a pair of pliers.
Okay, I guess if you don't have pliers, you might as well use a nutcracker. Sure. So then can I put this in the wall here where the crack is? And then put the mirror up there? Is that what I have to do?
I'll screw the hook into the crack.
Okay, very good. Now can I use the mirror over here?
Okay, I'll hang the mirror up here.
Yeah, I can, apparently. Cool. So can I look at
I
it?
can see the mirror above the desk from here, and the documents he's working on. The image is the right way round, but I can't read the writing. It's too far away.
Alright, so is that what the telescope is for?
Praise be the laws of optics. I can make out every word. If the soldier would just
This
move
is
his
the
hand
weirdest
a
thing.
little to the side, then perfect. There it is. Exhibit 104C. The Piri Reis map, stored in the crypt in the North Tower. The problem with answers is they always give rise to new questions. Where the devil is the North Tower?
The tower to the north, perhaps? Maybe this way?
I can hear voices in that direction. Better steer clear.
Okay. Well, I still haven't used the gloves or anything yet, so what else can we do? Steel cable, glowing lantern, empty candle holder, pot with lemon water. We've used all those.
Leather-lined gauntlets. Soft on the inside, but with a tough exterior. Just like Fenton Paddock.
Yeah, don't get too far ahead of yourself there, my friend.
A burning lantern.
I don't know where we go from here. I mean, now that we've seen that, we know what exhibit we're looking for, but how do we go to the north side? Do I just go back the way we came? To the other place? Maybe? Because I still, you know, I feel like I need to make something on this fireplace here, but I don't know what. Because I got these gloves, right? Or, yeah, and we had the pot. But we haven't used. Can I put these on the no? So how do we know which way we're going? Well, if we go back outside again, right? Because we had the 2 towers there.
The inventory list I saw in the library says that the items the Tula Society is studying, including the Piri Reis map, are located in the castle's north tower. But which way is north? I need to find out before anyone cottons onto me.
Cottons onto you, huh?
The inventory list, but without the... I need to...
Okay. So how do I know what is north? It's got to have something to do with the pot and magnetism, I would imagine. So what do? Fill up the pot again with water and then put something in it that's magnetic, like the Eye of the Dragon? Will that actually work?
The Eye of the Dragon. This artifact is supposed to be the secret to finding the second portal key that opens the gates to Shambhala. Viewing the Piri Reis map through the eye is said to reveal the key's hidden location. Of course, to do that, I need to find the map.
Well, let's go put some water in this again and see if there is something I could put in there. Alright, so we got a pot with water. Do we have anything else that would be even slightly, like, magnetic of some sort? I'm not sure. Not sure what else I could put in there. Can I put this in the pot? No, it doesn't even want me to do that.
I can see a few houses down there. That must be the village of Buren the guy at the station mentioned. It's too dark and I'm too far away to make out any details. That's better. Now I can make out the individual buildings.
Okay, so I'm using the telescope on the village here. We've got... So there might be some indication in the village as to which way is north.
Some kind of marketplace.
So we got a
Looks
pub
like
there.
A local pub. Freshly tapped beer and a hot schnitzel. Quite literally, the only things in the entire world that I want right now.
And one random red light compared to everything else. How about the church?
Village church. Wait a moment. Churches always point west, don't they? With the altar in the east. The main entrance is facing away from me. So... Looking at the church, the 2 small towers to my left and right must be on the east-west axis. So
this is the north
tower must be on the other side of the castle. But how am I supposed to get all the way over there?
Okay, well now that I know how to do. Alright, that we can come down here and go up that chimney that we see up there. So we'll put the fire out. Right?
I think I can safely put the fire out now. I'll just throw the skin over. Great, the fire's out. Though it now smells like a wild pig's marital sty in here.
Well, don't worry about it. The Nazis are going to have to worry about it more than you will. So the chimney,
Now
can I
the
go up
fire's
it?
out, I can see the ladder rungs more clearly. They definitely lead up to the roof.
Okay, so can I go?
The ladder rungs are still too hot to hold.
Well, that's what our gloves are for, my friend.
The gloves should protect me from the heat, climbing up the chimney to steal people's treasured possessions. I'm like the anti-Santa, only trimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I'm not afraid of heights. Or as we've established, anything at all. Apart from Argalis. And Kim, when she's in a huff.
You're also not really moving too much, dude, and it's raining very, very highly there.
That must be the North Tower, where the Tula Society is storing its research. According to the inventory, that includes the Piri Reis map.
Alright, well then, shake a leg, my friend. No, seriously, shake a leg. A little bit faster, dude. Just a little bit faster. I know it's raining. I know it's windy. I know you're cold. But, you know, better to be all those things than be dead. So just, you know, hurry your ass along there. I like double click to make them go faster. Nope, we're just going to take this nice, long, leisurely walk along the top eave of this old castle. I wonder why the North Tower is rounded versus the other. I mean, obviously the other towers are rounded, but they have pointy things on them.
Windows.
I guess it's
Okay,
the old portion.
I've reached the North Tower, but I don't see any ancient research objects or artifacts. The inventory said the items are kept in the crypt. Thinking about it, this doesn't really look like a crypt to me. It must be one floor lower. I'll have to find a way down.
Yeah, there's also a weird chandelier and a crank wheel.
This crank lowers the old chandelier. They must have used it for lighting candles back in the day.
Oh, those just globes with the candles in them?
A massive chandelier. I can't reach it from here.
Alright, well, let's crank it down and see what happens.
Let's see if the crank handle still works.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does.
It's damn heavy. I ought to use the crank if I want to get it back up.
Well, yes,
The
but I want to look at
chandelier's
it.
now lying in the center of the symbol on the floor.
So, does that do anything for me? Being there. Glowing lantern? Or anything? No? How about this door? It's locked, I can see, but...
It's locked.
yeah. Yeah, thank you. I noticed that. Let's see. Steel cable? We haven't really used that yet, so it's might as well get used at some point. Can I use a hand drill on the door and just get rid of the lock? What else can we look at here? Oh, there's a chain there. That's the chain that's linked to this crank wheel. So can I put the steel cable on the chain? No. I feel like that's going to come into play, though. Hand drill? Alright, well, we're going to have to try... Why is the ground...
The North Tower crypt. I've got to get...
Okay, so... Is that... So the ground has something to do with all this and that chain there. Put the glowing lantern on the chain... No, I have this hook still, so maybe this is what I need. Threaded hook on the chain? No? We're gonna have to use all the things at our disposal, I guess. One of these things will be useful. I don't know which one though. So I'm just gonna try all of them because that's how I do puzzles. Try everything until the game tells you you're stupid, and then try it some more. Ground, chain, hand drill on chandelier or chain. Lantern. The only thing, the axe. Use the axe on something? No. All right, I'm clearly missing something here. Maybe there's another area that I can walk to. It doesn't look like it. Does not look like it at all. Okay, what the frig?
It's damn heavy.
Alright, so maybe I gotta put something underneath of this. Because he says it's very heavy. So, do I have to crush something, maybe, under it? What would I crush under it? The empty candle holder? Mirror? I mean, what would I put there? Stone slab.
A round stone slab with some kind of occult symbol.
I can examine
The
this.
slab separate from the rest of the floor. I can see the seam running along the edges. That said, I can't lift it with my bare hands.
So, can I use the hand drill on this?
Let's attack this thing.
35 minutes later, I'm guessing no.
There. I've drilled a small hole.
Oh, I drilled a small hole. Oh, okay. Put the hook in there?
I've
Yes,
screwed the hook into the
okay.
drill hole. It's lodged pretty tight.
So then, do I use the steel cable on this? Like, how do I... What does that hook do? I mean, I feel like it's got to go with the... With that. Well, actually, this one I can use on there, huh?
I don't think brute.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
The
Okay.
North I've
Glowing lantern? No. The nutcracker? No. Gloves. The candle holder. Telescope. Clean mirror. I don't know why I would break the mirror after all this time. Alright, I'm missing something. Maybe I can attach this to this chain up there? No. With the glowing lantern? No. There's gotta be something. There's definitely something there. Do I just lower it onto the hook? And then you can't raise it again? Oh, I get it. I can use it'll probably get caught on the hook. And then I can use that to pull the stone slab up, right? Alright, and then crank wheel again.
Fenton, you old dog, you've done it again. The chandelier is attached to the hook, which is screwed into the slab in the floor. When I turn the crank, the whole thing comes away. Shame there's nobody here to congratulate me.
I'm congratulating you because, damn, that was a weird. I wasn't a whole lot to
There's a
do.
cable here. Maybe I can climb down on it. Hopefully it'll take my weight. Looks like I'm in the right place, finally.
I was gonna say, I still have a steel cable here. Still have a steel cable that I could use for something. So I got some lecterns and some boxes.
There's a sort of dossier on this podium. I'll just skim it quickly. It outlines the Tula Society's central objectives. According to this, the Society was founded in the early 1920s with the aim of restoring the knowledge of lost civilizations for its own use. The Tula Society's influence extends into the highest echelons of the German Reich. This gives them complete carte blanche on their activities. They can do whatever the hell they like. Seems they launched a project codenamed Vril under the direction of our old friend, Countess von Hagenhild. The focus of this project is the search for Shambhala. The Tula Society believes that a vast store of ancient knowledge is being hoarded there. The source of morphogenetic fields. Morphogenetic fields? Never heard of them. But then it does ring true with what Professor Hayes was talking about, a store of ancient knowledge. If I remember the professor's description correctly, the hunters and herders of Shambhala suddenly developed into a flourishing and highly advanced society. Hayes reckons some sort of mysterious energy was responsible for the tribe's development. Is that what they mean by morphogenetic fields?
That's certainly what I mean by morphogenetic fields.
Must be more of the Tula Society's artifacts and research objects. It could take days to search all these boxes for the Piri-Reis map.
Okay, then I won't.
These documents contain the research results of a scientist by the name of Aldrich Von Hagenhild must be some relative of the Countess. Von Hagenhild spent his time searching for the World Soul. Christ, can't these people just use sensible names? The basis
I know,
for
really?
Von Hagenhild's research was the concept that for an organism to develop as it should, there must be some immaterial power steering it in the right direction. Basically, an invisible blueprint determining form and growth. So, why does a rabbit develop the way it does? And why does a pine tree become a pine tree? Who's the architect? What tells them to grow bark? Or fancy lady rabbits? Looks like these questions led von Hagenhild to believe there was some invisible, imperceptible field that controls the development of an organism. He called it morphogenetics. Von Hagenhild explains the holistic aspect of self-organizing systems with his theory of morphogenetic fields. Basically, the field stores forms or behavioral patterns that every member of a species draws from and adds to. This was his Western take on something the East had known for some time. In Far Eastern philosophy, people refer to his morphogenetic fields as the divine essence of nature, or as the soul. He thought he'd identified the soul. He didn't think the soul was a spiritual thing. He thought it was a fundamental principle of nature that had been warped and confused by religions the world over. He even thought he had proof. He refers to certain experiments he carried out. Ugh, this is a lot of information to take in. Von Hagenhild really believed that in these morphogenetic fields, he'd identified the soul, the central power behind all living things.
Or, he could have just looked at DNA and evolution and been like, oh, okay, that kind of explains it all. But anyway.
These documents refer to several experiments which are supposed to prove the existence of morphogenetic fields. Von Hagenhild wanted to prove that every species obtains its entire being, its form, its instincts, from these fields, like some kind of collective memory.
Borg?
These inherited memories control not just the form, but also the behavior, the capabilities, and the knowledge of the relevant species. He called it a group soul. Experiment number 1. The rat experiment. The experiment investigated the capability of rats to find their way through a maze. At the beginning of the experiment, the rats needed 165 attempts before they could get through the maze without a mistake. But a few rat generations later, the number of attempts had dropped to 20. Conclusion. The first batch of rats learned how to navigate the maze, and this instinct was somehow added to the rat's group soul. When later rats navigated the maze, they somehow had access to this ancestral memory, even if the rats weren't directly related. Experiment number 2. The ape experiment. 2 ape colonies of the same species were isolated and observed on 2 small islands in the Indian Ocean. Von Hagenhild's team taught the apes on one island a few new behavioral patterns. The other colony was left undisturbed and uninfluenced, so while the apes on the first island are learning how to open tins and the like, the others are eating bananas. Several months later, the apes on the undisturbed island began displaying these new skills, even though they'd never come into contact with the other colony. Von Hagenhild's conclusion: all members of a species are connected by morphogenetic fields. They share a subconscious collective memory. He thought this theory could explain a lot. Animals' sense for impending danger, telepathy, sixth sense in humans. Von Hagenhild also concludes that members of a group can learn something new at a far quicker pace when the vast majority of members of that same group have already acquired the knowledge. These fields are basically stores of information that are effective across space, and in rare cases even time. Von Hagenhild presumes this would go some way towards explaining premonitions. Human beings sporadically accessing morphogenetic fields from varying points in the future. It all sounds very far-fetched, but then it does explain a lot. Supposing morphogenetic fields really exist, they'd be the answer to problems science has been trying to solve for centuries. And if all these fields add up, if there's some kind of central repository of all this information, Christ, it'd basically be the scientific definition of God. I'm beginning to understand why the Tula Society's quite so interested. And if there's even the slightest chance it's all true, why they need to be stopped.
That was a lot to take in. But yeah, so he thinks that, so he basically wants to be a Time Lord. He wants to see all of space and time and have all the knowledge of everything by tapping into the ether, as it were.
Is this the Piri Reis map? It's hand-drawn, ancient. There are some notes next to it. Finally, von Hagenhild became convinced that there must be a type of definitive field from which all other fields are derived. All manifestations have an origin. He tried to back this up with historical evidence. A world soul, for instance, had been proposed by Plato over 2,000 years ago. But what really convinced him was the discovery of an old, mysterious map of the world, drawn by the Ottoman general Piri Reis. I knew it! It's the map! Let's see. Further on in the text, von Hagenhild discovered that the general had drawn up the map in the 16th century, using sources which were thousands of years old. But how could they have known at that time what the world looked like? He posed the theory that a civilization had existed then, which possessed extraordinary knowledge and skill. He discovered a marking on the map, which was written in an unfamiliar language. Research in Far Eastern libraries revealed it was a long-forgotten Tibetan script. Once translated, it claimed the marking indicated the source of all knowledge, the center of the morphogenetic fields. It was a hidden valley in the Himalayas, Shambhala. Shortly before he died in 1934, von Hagenhild passed the responsibility of continuing the research onto his daughter. Professor Hayes was right about everything. The Tula Society arrived at the exact same conclusion as he did. They were just one step ahead. Lucky I'm one step more. Richard used the first key to pass through the gate in that secret room in the monastery. I just need to find the second. The Nazis can't enter Shambhala without it, and as it happens, I have the eye, and I have the map. I just need to use them to find the location of the second key. My last hope of finding Richard is based on an ancient legend. Great. It's time to cross everything I've got. And I mean everything.
Alright, I have the dragon on it.
Fingers crossed. I've come all this way, but I'm still a little surprised it actually worked. The Piri Reis map really is the map of the Guardians of Shambhala. Or at least it was drawn to their specifications. So Professor Hayes was also right in thinking the priests of Shambhala took the second key artifact to India and hid it in a temple there. And now I know exactly where to look. On the Kathiawar Peninsula, just north of Bombay. Thinking about it, I actually know the commander of the British regiment in Rajkot. If the old drunkard hasn't been transferred for disciplinary reasons again, I'm sure he'll lend me a hand. Or at least a decent bottle. Then, I'll just have to find the temple and get hold of the key artifact. What could be simpler?